Hi, welcome back to the Scrapbook Pal YouTube channel. This is Marla with Mad About Cards and Crafts, and today I'm creating two clean and simple mini slimline cards. I'm going to show you just a little bit of Copic coloring. This is the Woodland Friends stamp set that I'm using today. I did stamp my images already onto Copic friendly paper. Two no line coloring inks that are awesome to use are the Gina K Designs Barely There ink, as well as Distress ink in Antique Linen. I do recommend that you stamp them a couple of times because that will give you a little bit more definition and make it easier for you to see your image. Make sure, as you saw, I did color in all the eyes and the nose using micron pens, a micron pen, and that's because you can lose some of those fine definitions in a stamp if you don't do it ahead of time. So I just make sure that I put in my eyes and my nose. I make sure that it's dry either by using my Ranger heat tool or by not coloring that area right away, which, as you can see, I started with the head. With no line coloring, anything that you draw over that line, so any ink that goes over that line, is going to be absorbed into the ink that you stamped, as long as you've used a complementary light enough color. So here I used more of a tannish brown color, and it was easy for that gray to absorb. When I color my other brown images, those are going to absorb into that ink just as nicely. I do start with my darkest color. I put in my shadows. As you can see, I go along the line of the image with my dark color up to the point where the shadow is, and then I blend it out with my mid-tone. I always, most of the time, I tend to do a center highlight. So I start from the left and use my darkest shadowing, blend it out with my mid-tone, and then I leave the center of the image white, and that's where I use my lightest color. And I just keep repeating that all around this image. So you notice I'm coloring it in sections, which makes it easy for blending. And once I finish up this little raccoon, I am going to color up this red squirrel. I thought that I would color these two images for you, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this stamp set from Gina K Designs. This stamp set, as I said, is called Woodland Friends. There are a ton of adorable images. As you can see, they lend themselves quite nicely to fairy book type card making. So no line coloring was the first thing that came to mind when I saw this stamp set. There are a ton of little punny sentiments that are useful all year round. One says, "You're so dear to me. You're a very good friend. Thankful for you. Hello, dear friend. I can't wait to give you a bear hug. I'm nuts about you. Hey, foxy friend. Party like an animal. Thanks for all you do. You're a hoot. Sending you hedge hugs. Happy birthday. Congratulations. A big thank you." And then another one that says, "From all of us," which is, I think, is fabulous when you're sending out a card from the whole entire family. So this stamp set is good for birthdays. It's good for thank you cards, congratulation cards, or just cards to say hi. I'm going to move on to my little squirrel. For that squirrel, I'm going to use some E markers and some YR markers. Again, they'll be linked on the screen. As you can see, I started on the left side with my darkest color. I drew on the lines, and then I brought in my mid-tone and brought it all the way around to the top of the head. I'm reinforcing the dark shadowing, adding that mid-tone. You see that white space right there. I'm going to fill that in with my lightest color, and then we'll move on to another part of the squirrel's body. I wanted to go with something that had a little bit more red in it, which is why I chose to go with this red squirrel. I thought that it balanced out the fox. So the bear kind of has a gray-brown tone, which complements the grays on the raccoon. And then, of course, the owl and the hedgehog and the deer, they all have those nice brown tones. So everything is very complementary. The color that I used on the hedgehog's body matches the light soft colors on the deer's face and chest, and it's also going to match the same colors that are going to be in this squirrel's, the lower portion of the squirrel's face and his tummy. All of the products that I'm using will be linked in the description box below, along with I'm sorry, they're going to be linked in the description box below, but I am using a die set that's not available right now. I will have it linked, so all you need to do is leave your email address in that link. It'll say notify me. If you put your email address in, then you can be notified when it's back in stock. That is the Master Layout 7 from Gina K Designs. It's a mini slimline die that I used in my last video, if you happen to see that. It comes with a 3x6 die, that's the mini slimline size, and then it comes with an 1/8 inch smaller die that has stitching around the edges. That's your layering piece. It comes with a label, 2 circles, and then you're going to see that I'm going to use 2 of the rectangles. There's a background rectangle that has no stitching, and then the second layer will have stitching on it. All of these work beautifully together for easy scene building or easy card building. So it's a wonderful die set to have in your collection. I'm also going to be using a stencil from Gina K Designs. It's called Water Droplets. It happens to be one of my favorite stencils. Here is the Gina K Design Peach Bellini. It's a beautiful peachy color, one of my favorites. And I'm just going to ink around the largest layer. So this is a 3x6 layer. This is just white cardstock. I believe it's 80-pound cardstock. And once I get this on, that's going to be that background layer for this piece right here. I'm going to take that same Peach Bellini. I'm going to use this Water Droplet stencil, and this is going to be the backdrop. And that is all, other than the stamping of my sentiment right here, that I'm doing for this background. It's going to keep it very clean and simple. The stars of the show are going to be all of these adorable critters. I did add some foam tape to the back of them, and we're going to stamp the sentiment. Just a reminder when you're stamping that if you stamp multiple times, you are going to get a darker image. Remember, ink does dry back, so if you want it to stand out from the color, if you're doing something monochromatic like I'm doing right here, make sure that you stamp it a couple of times, and that'll really make it stand out from the background. We're going to add a little bit of glue to this, and we're going to layer it on to that panel. I believe off camera that I put it on the card base. As I said, I did use a 3x6 card base. So this is going to be a top folding card. I'm going to lay all of my animals out. I've removed all of the release paper. And it's going to take me a couple of minutes to get them lined up the way that I want to, but the inside of this card is going to say party like an animal. So the front says happy birthday and the inside says party like an animal. And this is going to be card number 1. Once I rearrange all of these pieces, I'm going to really use a couple more of the layers from the Master Layout 7. I'm going to bring in the rectangles. I did use some eggplant colored cardstock for the back piece. So that one that I colored in with the Peach Bellini, that one is going to be an eggplant color right there. And then the rectangle that's going to hold my images, the background is also that same eggplant. And I'm just going to glue this on top. So I'm going to center it just like I did with the last card. The last card was a top folding. This is going to be side folding. I'm going to layer up my rectangles, and then we're going to stamp the image. I did again use Gina K Designs ink. I used the eggplant this time, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says, hello, dear friend. I have not adhered that rectangle, but I just am using it for a point of reference. to see where I want my sentiment. I want to make sure that it's straight, so I'm bringing in a piece of acetate just to stamp on it first. Make sure my sentiment's straight. It is. So now I can stamp it onto my panel and not worry about whether or not I'm misstamping. And there you have it. I'm going to stamp it a couple more times because I do like that depth of color. And now we're going to glue that rectangle down and start building the images on our card. I do have a piece of twine that I'm bringing in. I'm going to tell you, I start tying it on camera, and when I finished the card, I did have it tied in a bow. I struggle with bows. I don't know if I've mentioned this here or not before, but with my fingernails, sometimes I struggle tying bows, and so I was really struggling with this. I didn't like the way that the bow looked. In the end, I end up untying the bow, making it a knot, and just cutting off those tails. But first, I'm going to remove the release paper from the back of my foam tape. I'm going to add my hedgehog, and then I'm going to add the leaves that I colored. As I said, it does come with a tree branch, and there are also leaves available for that branch, and those are the leaves that I'm using here. And those are popped up onto foam tape as well. And that's going to be card number 2. I am going to show you a close-up of both of these cards. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this video and you love clean and simple cards, please make sure that you do give this a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the Scrapbook Pal YouTube channel, we would absolutely love for you to subscribe and ring the bell so that you're notified whenever we do upload a new video. And I'm going to leave you with a little bit of music. Until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Thanks for watching.